Hi everyone, and welcome to this month's video hop, joining all the demonstrators from around the world to showcase the theme of simple stamping. To me, the definition of simple stamping is just that, keeping it simple: ink, paper, a great stamp set, and creating a card that really highlights just how we use the ink and cardstock to showcase. So this is the stamp set that I am using. It is called Simply Smiles. It's got some great florals and lots of fabulous sentiments. So join me and all the others to create a great card using simple stamping. Great for beginners. Today's card is going to be featuring the Sending Smiles stamp set. So the wonderful thing about this one for simple stamping is that all of the images are solid. They're still fine line, as you can see, lots of detail, but there's no colouring, there's nothing like that at all. So we are going to create a bit of a background on our card using a lot of these stamps here. The colours that I have chosen are, let's see, here we go, Daffodil Delight, Bubble Bath, and Granny Apple Green. So not too dark a colour, because I am actually going to stamp my sentiment straight over the top. So there is no die cutting or anything like that. It is basically a fairly flat stamp, fairly flat card, sorry. So the feature cardstock that I am going to use is going to be basic white and the Bubble Bath, the new pink, which is very, very pretty. I'm going to start by creating my card base. I'll just fold that one in half and then pop it to one side. And you can see already that I'm just going to do a basic layering of my cardstock, the basic white that I'm going to stamp on, and then a little bit of that Bubble Bath peeking through to create a bit of a frame for our card. So let's get started on that. We'll take our basic white and we are going to start stamping. So I have several stamps ready to go, and here's a little bit of a tip for you. When you are creating a bit of a background on a sheet, you do need to have some scrap paper behind. Now, I am using a plain white background. However, this is just A3 paper, like photocopy paper. I will show you what it normally looks like. Can I find it? It's on this side. There's lots and lots of scrap or leftover bits and pieces. I use it to rub off my brushes. I use it to make a few notes. There's even a recipe there from when I was watching a TikTok. So that's, I just have a plain white one for today, a bit easier for you to see. So I'm going to pop this down, and what we're going to do is we're going to create this whole card as a background, just using a couple of colours and a couple of stamps. And we are going to stamp off the page, so what they call off the page, so off that piece of cardstock. And a tip for you is using non-directional stamping as well, so it's not all up and down or side to side. So I've actually chosen the two leafy stems that are in the stamp set, and I have just popped them onto one block. This will save you a little bit of time. We're going to stamp in Granny Apple Green, so let me pop that one open and we'll get started. So I'll ink up. Now I do use my this background scrap paper to stamp off on as well, especially with new stamps. Like you find the photopolymer can be a little bit sticky on newly purchased stamps. So like I said, we're not going to do directional. I'm just going to plonk it down, give it a little bit of a press, and there we go. I'm going to ink up again, and I'm going to turn it and sort of fit it in somewhere and coming off the side again. And I do apologise, my ring light is creating a terrible bright spot in my video, so I hope you can see everything quite well. Again, twist it round. I'm going to go this way. Doesn't matter if they overlap a little bit. In this case, we want enough on here, and you will see it transform very soon. Let me see, I'm going to ink up. I'm going to use this one down here, just off the side. I know that's hard. You can see that one there. And again at the top, I'm going to do the same here. And just around to the side. So you're just wanting to fill it up, not to the point that it is chock-a-block full and you've got no room for anything else. That'll probably do for us. Okay, that's my granny apple green done. I'm going to pop it away. Now I am going to use two different floral elements, a larger one and a smaller one. And that's going to be in my bubble bath. Good old traditional pink flower. So I'm going to use, I think I'll use the larger one first. I don't know if you can see that. Bring it a little closer. It is a larger one and it does have a centerpiece. So when we get to our Daffodil Delight, I will bring in some centerpiece ones, and that's where that yellow is going to come in. So, but for now, we're just going to stamp these on. So I'm going to ink it up just like I did the other one. I might move this one out of the way. And we are going to match this with this larger, the larger stem or the leafier stem. And I'm just going to pop it in. Doesn't matter if it overlaps. And I'm going to use this little gap here to line up with my top of my stem, like so. I'm just going to go around and do that for all of them. And this one has come off. So yes, it will still fit because we want it to come off the side. So can you see that? How it's come off the side there. And there's another one right next to it. That's okay. I'm going to pop it on there as well. And you can twist and move those florals to overlap. It may look funny now, but don't stress too much. I've got one more here. I might twist my floral just a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to leave that one to the side and I'm going to come in with the smaller one, and the smaller one is going to top that less leafy piece, of which there's not many, as you can see. I'm going to add that one there. So what we will do is we'll add a few extras in amongst it as if they've fallen off. You won't see them all that much. Don't forget your sides, but it will add the colour. And these sorts of simple stamping projects, I guess you could, or cards, are great in the fact that if you've got somebody who's just starting out and needs to learn how to ink up, how to stamp fairly evenly, this is perfect for that. So one more down the bottom, down here in this gap, and I think that's pretty even, and it creates like a designer series paper. Perfect. I'm going to leave my two florals there, and I am going to bring in my two centerpieces. Now, put this one away. Bring in my Daffodil Delight, and we're going to add just that little bit of yellow. Oh, this one's a bit. Hang on. Oh, he was just being very stubborn. Okay, so I'm going to put one on the back, one on the front. I'm going to start with the larger one. Bit of ink and find those bigger floral elements and just stamp it in the center. It does not have to be perfect. Go. Add one over this side here. There we go. And then I'm just going to turn my block over so that now I can use the smaller one, and I won't get ink on my card from the one I've just been using because it's on the opposite side of the block. Go. It's almost, it's not watercolor, but it kind of gives that feel of random, mismatched, almost feeling. Now I am going to use this smaller one in particular to add some extra dots of the yellow. And again, this is where somebody could have lots of stamping practice on one card. The yellow is just to add a little bit more fill into that white. Don't forget to sometimes cluster some dots as well, because that looks really pretty and not so random. And of course, don't forget a couple of edges too. We're almost, like, we are getting close to being done, everybody. No, these are super simple, fast cards. There we go. I'm going to pop all those little elements to the side now. Bring this up closer so you can see. Now, can you see my poor white cardstock? It has, the background, sorry, the stamp off. So it has got really dirty really quickly. Okay. Let me just straighten up my camera a little bit. It's gone a little skewy for me. There we go. So you can see. And I might just zoom in a little so you can see the next part. There we go. And I'll move him in the middle as well. So now we are going to use one other ink, and that one is Memento Black. Nothing like a nice crisp sentiment. So we're going to use Memento Black, and we are going to use two parts to this. We have the word sending, which is going to be stamped directly on here. Then we have the words birthday wishes, and I am going to stamp those on the little white cardstock strip that I've got here, and I'm going to cut that down to size and mount it on my bubble bath. So I'll show you all of that now. I'm just going to pop this one off for a second. I'm going to start with the sending. Now this one here I will stamp off as a practice run. Memento is a different type of ink altogether, and it does you need to make sure your coverage is really good, because you really only get one chance to stamp. So popping this over, and I'm going to use the method of dabbing my ink onto, instead of the other way around where the ink pad is on the table and I'm dabbing onto it. I'm doing it the other way, and this is just to ensure that I'm moving my ink pad around, not just stamping in one spot, because that allows extra ink from different parts of the ink pad to get onto your stamp. And I do stamp, dab, 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 dab. Then I can turn it over and give it a good look. And just to show you, I'm going to pop it down on my scrap paper, give it a good press, make sure that all that ink is on there, because there is some residual ink. You can't see it, or you can see a bit of a shadow. That residual ink will help my next ink up to stay on. This did a really good job, mind you. But we are going to give it another stamp, another ink up, before I add it to my project. Now you do have to be careful that you don't go overboard. You get a little bit of bleeding. So when you press it down onto your card, just don't press it too hard, but firmly enough that you are going to get a good impression of that ink. Now to decide where that's going to go, I'm going to pop it pretty much down, probably about there, not a little bit higher than a third of the way up, and right in the middle, and down it goes. And then I'm just going to give it, I know it's hard because it's down the bottom of the screen on the video, but I'll bring it up in a second so you can see. I'm just giving it a couple of seconds longer than I normally would stamp, and I'm pressing firm but not too hard, and just making sure that it all comes off like so. Perfect. Now with the same ink, I am going to do my next little sentiment on that white strip. A tip for any of these straight or like very straight word kind of polymer stamps, put it down and then add your block on top, because it's straight when it's sitting down without being on a block, and then that guarantees. Otherwise sometimes they can warp. Again, just ink it up, stamp it off. Yep, Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to bring in this white strip. Of course, you don't need to use black, but that's just what I had out. I'm going to pop it in the middle here. Try and center it. Pop it down for a second. And there we go. If you're happy with that, not quite. Let's have another go. You can just flip your cardstock over. That's why I always have a longer one, because you can trim it back, whatever. I think I pressed a little bit hard on that last one. So let's just give that one a go. Much better. Put that up to show you. Much, much better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this back just with a pair of scissors. It doesn't matter to me that it's not quite in the center. I more so want to get the ends centered than the top and bottom. I'm going to pop my Memento away. It dries out really fast, faster than our normal ink pad, so make sure you pop the lid on it and pop it away. And I always store it upside down. These particular inks that means that there's always ink on the top of your ink pad to use. It doesn't settle into the ink pad itself. Obviously, the Stampin' Up ones, that's not really a big deal because the ink formulation is totally different. So I'm going to mount this one and I'm going to glue it down first with some Tombow glue, and then I am going to add some small dimensionals for it. So let's start assembling this card. Now to start with, I'm going to do my sentiment, and you can see that the one that I didn't like, put on the back. Can't see it through our beautiful white cardstock because it's nice and thick. And I'm going to pop it on here on the end with an equal amount, or as close as I can, border of that bubble bath. And then I'm going to trim it back. So I've got a gorgeous little sentiment. That is actually going to go on here, in between. It does fit just. So I'm going to put some of these wonderful little dimensionals on. And today I'm using my fingernails. I don't always, sometimes I use a scalpel or the take your pick tool to add these, but today I think I'll just go rogue and add these. You can see this comes together really quickly, and this is a great card, or the idea of this card is great in stamping when you've got lots of cards you want to do very much a batch type of card. I'm just going to pull it up a little bit and straighten it a little bit more. Can you see that? I always eyeball. I'm not the best at getting a perfectly straight line. I'm going to bring in the rest. So this one is now being mounted onto the bubble bath cardstock first with an even little border. And then simply pop that onto my folded card base. And there we have our very pretty simple stamping card. Of course, you can add a little bit of bling, and look, when you see the photos, mine will have bling. But it's not necessary. Simple stamping is about just using ink, cardstock, keeping it simple, or it's about just using a few elements on a larger white canvas. So this is my version of a simple stamping card using Sending Smiles and some fabulous new colours in our range, including that bubble bath. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Check out the next slide in my video for all of the things that you will need to create your own. Thanks everyone for joining me. Now I do have a little bit of a an apology. I did get a little carried away with my stamping on this card, so much so that I went away and thought, how would I make it more simple? How can I use more white space? So here's my final card yet again. This was it. I did add the bling, as you can see, very pretty. But then this was the card I created a day later. There we go. Much more white space, very pretty, very simple. Took me only a few minutes to put it together. I hope you enjoyed the video and you hop along, like, comment, share, all those things over here on the video world of YouTube, and pop over to my friends' pages as well. Till next month, guys.